Hey, listener, ready for a deep dive? You requested it. We're taking a plunge into the world of words.
Words that pack a punch.
Yeah, your goal. Yeah. Level up that English vocabulary. Sound super sharp and clear when you communicate.
That's right. It's about more than just sounding smart.
Right.
It's about using language as a tool.
Oh, I like that.
To get your ideas across.
You really nail it. And today, our trusty guide is an episode of the Fluent Edge podcast.
A language learning podcast.
Yes. And an episode claims, if you know these 15 words, your English is excellent.
Bold claim, right?
We're going to see about that.
We'll see if they live up to the hype.
We're putting it to the test. Okay, so the episode dives into 15 words. These words are not just like dictionary dust gatherers.
Oh, no.
They're words you can actually use.
In everyday conversation.
Yes, the kind of words that make people go, ooh, impressive.
Exactly.
The Fluent Edge gives us a definition and an example sentence for each word, which is super helpful.
It is, it's useful.
Now, what struck me was how versatile some of these words are, like articulate.
Oh, yeah, good one.
You can use it to compliment someone, like, wow, she's such an articulate speaker.
Absolutely.
But you can also use it for yourself as a goal, right? Like, I'm working on being more articulate in my writing.
It works both ways.
It does. Shows you how dynamic language can be.
It does. And articulate really boils down to expressing yourself clearly.
Yes.
Effectively.
Getting your point across.
And the example sentence from the episode really highlights that
Wait a second.
She's so articulate that she can explain complex topics in a way anyone can understand.
Powerful stuff. Okay, so on the flip side, we have superficial. I think we've all been stuck in those conversations that are just, well,
shallow.
Yeah, just skimming the surface.
Raw sparkle, no substance.
Exactly. And the episode points out that you can use superficial for more than just chit-chat.
It's true.
Relationships, trends, even analyses.
Like a superficial understanding of a complex issue.
Oh, interesting. So if a friend's only interested in the latest gossip, you could be like, our conversation felt a bit superficial. Let's dive deeper next time.
Yeah. Or you read an article that's just like superficial analysis.
Right. It's like a shortcut word to call something out for lacking depth.
It is.
Okay, so for those who are all about action, getting things done, we have pragmatic.
Ah, yes, for the practical minds.
The realists.
The doers.
Yes. Focused on solutions that actually work.
Let's stop theorizing and get practical.
Exactly. The Fluent Edge gives the example, I prefer a pragmatic approach to problem solving instead of getting bogged down in idealistic theories.
That's a good one.
It's about being grounded and effective.
Exactly. It's like that friend who always has a plan, cuts through the chaos.
That's so true.
And figures out the most sensible way forward.
Speaking of cutting through chaos, have you ever gotten instructions that were just like, what?
Oh, all the time. Like trying to assemble furniture with those terrible diagrams.
Oh, the worst.
It's like they're intentional, unclear.
And that's where ambiguous comes in. This word is gold for anything that's unclear.
Open to multiple interpretations.
Or just plain vague.
Yes. Like those instructions you were talking about.
The Fluent Edge even uses that example. The instructions were so ambiguous that no one knew what to do.
Classic. Happens all the time.
So frustrating. But
the worst. At least now you have the perfect word to describe it.
I'm adding that one to my vocabulary arsenal. Okay, let's talk about a word that makes us curious, makes us want to know more. Intriguing.
That feeling of, ooh, tell me more.
Yes. Like I was at a conference once and someone was talking about this new technology.
Okay.
And it just blew my mind. I remember turning to the person next to me being like, that's so intriguing. I need to know more.
And did you find out more?
Oh, yeah. We had a whole conversation about it. It's a great way to spark a discussion.
It is. It shows genuine interest.
It goes beyond a polite, that's interesting.
It does. All right, let's shift gears to compliments because good job sometimes just doesn't cut it. So let's talk about impeccable.
Ooh, impeccable.
Oh.
That's like flawless.
Perfect.
It's like, wow, you absolutely nailed it.
Exactly. The Fluent Edge really highlights how effective it is as a compliment.
How so?
Like, imagine someone gives an amazing presentation and you're like, your delivery was impeccable.
Oh, much better than good job.
Way better.
Right. It shows you are really paying attention.
It does.
And that you appreciate their effort.
Absolutely. But let's be real. Not everything in life is exciting and perfect.
Sadly, no.
Sometimes things are just tedious.
Tedious is the perfect word for those boring, repetitive tasks.
Like replying to endless emails.
Ugh, yes.
Yeah.
The Fluent Edge reminds us that it can be any activity that just drains your energy.
Makes you wish you were doing anything else.
So true. Okay, now for a word that requires some nuance. Cynical.
Ah, yes. This one can be tricky.
It's got that negative vibe, right?
It does. It's about believing that people are mostly selfish, distrusting their motives. But here's the thing. There's a fine line between healthy skepticism and just being negative.
So you're saying a little bit of cynicism can be okay?
I think so. As long as it doesn't consume you.
Right. Don't become that person who always assumes the worst.
Exactly. Like the Fluent Edge example, he's so cynical that he never believes people's good intentions.
Oh yeah, that kind of cynicism can be isolating.
It can push people away.
All right, let's move on to something a little warmer, fuzzier. Nostalgic.
Ah, the feeling of longing for the past.
Those good old days.
Remember when?
Oh, music is such a nostalgia trigger for me.
Music is powerful like that.
Certain songs can instantly transport you back to a specific time and place.
Totally. The Fluent Edge gives the example. Hearing that song always makes me nostalgic for my childhood summers.
That's sweet. And it's not just personal, right? Nostalgia can be a shared experience.
It can be a powerful way to connect with others who lived through the same era.
Like those iconic movies everyone watched growing up.
Exactly. It's a shared cultural memory.
Okay, let's talk about a word that's so relevant in today's world. Resilient.
The ability to bounce back from challenges.
Adapt to change. Stay strong when things get tough.
It's more than just bouncing back, though.
What do you mean?
It's about using those tough experiences to grow stronger.
To come out the other side even better.
Exactly. It's like someone loses their job.
Tough situation.
A resilient person wouldn't just give up. They'd see it as an opportunity
To learn new skills.
to reinvent themselves.
I like that perspective. Okay, onto a word I love to say. Superfluous.
It's a fun one to say, isn't it?
It is, and it's perfect for describing anything unnecessary, excessive,
Anything extra?
just clutter. And what I found interesting is that the Fluent Edge says superfluous can apply to both language and life in general.
Oh, I like that connection.
They give the example. Your email was clear and concise. Adding more details would be superfluous.
Makes sense.
But then you think about how often we have superfluous stuff in our lives.
Clutter, commitments we don't need, even thoughts.
It's like a call to simplify everything. Declutter your mind, your space, your life.
I love it. Speaking of decluttering our minds, let's talk about a quality that's so important today. Empathetic.
Being able to understand and share the feelings of others.
To truly connect on an emotional level.
Empathy seems more vital than ever these days.
I agree.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's so easy to get caught up in our own little bubbles.
Our echo chambers.
Yes, surrounded by people who think just like us.
But empathy, it's like that bridge to connect with people who are different.
Exactly. People with different experiences, beliefs.
It's about remembering that we're all human.
That we all have a story to tell.
Beautifully said. And the Fluent Edge really emphasizes being an empathetic listener.
It's so important.
Their example is, he's such an empathetic listener. He always makes you feel heard.
That feeling of being truly understood.
It's powerful.
It is.
Okay, time to face a fact. Things become outdated.
It happens to everything eventually.
Technology, fashion, even ideas.
It's the cycle of life.
And that's where obsolete comes in.
Ah, yes, for the things we leave behind.
We usually think of it with tech, like that old flip phone in a drawer somewhere.
Or those clunky old computers.
But it's fascinating to think about how obsolete can apply to so much more.
It can. Think about those old social norms, ways of thinking that just don't fly anymore.
It's like ideas can become obsolete too.
They can. It's a good reminder to be open to change.
To keep evolving.
Exactly.
Okay, onto a word that carries a lot of weight. Pivotal.
Those turning points in life.
Those moments that change everything.
The crossroads.
The Fluent Edge uses the example of a pivotal moment in history.
Big moments that shaped the world.
But it made me think about the pivotal moments in my own life.
The moments that defined your journey.
Exactly. Like a conversation I had with a mentor once that completely changed my career path.
Wow, that's huge.
It was. It's funny how we don't always realize we're at a pivotal moment until we look back.
Hindsight is 20/20, right?
It is. Okay, ready for our final word.
Hit me with it.
Let's talk about being perceptive.
To see beyond the surface.
To have those deep insights.
To notice what others miss.
And this ties back to some words we've already talked about, like cynical and empathetic.
It does. A perceptive person can see through a cynical facade.
To understand what's really going on underneath.
Exactly. Or they can empathize with different perspectives.
Even if they don't agree with them.
It's about seeing the world with a nuanced lens.
So it's about Being attuned to what people say, but also how they say it.
Body language, tone of voice, those subtle cues.
It's like being a detective of human behavior.
It is. And it's a skill that can be incredibly valuable in all areas of life.
Wow, 15 powerful words. It's a lot to absorb, but I already feel like my vocabulary is getting a boost.
Don't worry, it takes the time to really internalize them.
And the good news is you can always revisit this deep dive and these explanations.
Exactly. And in the next part, we'll be exploring some practical tips from the Fluent Edge on how to actually use these words in your everyday life.
I'm excited for that. It's one thing to know the words, but it's another to actually use them.
Exactly. So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll put all this knowledge into action.
I can't wait. Okay, listener, we've got these 15 awesome words, but now what?
Now we put them to work.
Yeah. It's all about application, right?
Absolutely. Knowledge is only powerful when you use it.
Right. And luckily, the Fluent Edge doesn't just throw definitions at us. They give us tips on how to actually use these words in our lives.
Practical advice, that's what we need.
Yes. Their first tip is to pair the words with real-life scenarios.
To visualize how you'd actually use them.
Make them feel less like vocabulary words and more like tools.
Tools in your communication toolkit.
I like that. So, for example, imagine you're in a meeting and someone's presenting this vague plan.
Okay, lots of ideas, but no clear direction.
Exactly. That's your cue to use ambiguous. You could say, I'm finding the plan a bit ambiguous. Could we get some more concrete details?
Boom. You've just used a fancy word to push for clarity.
And action.
You're not just complaining, you're using language strategically.
I love it. Or let's say you're at a party and someone mentions a book you've been meaning to read.
Okay, I'm picturing this.
Instead of a generic, oh yeah, I've heard of that, you could say, that sounds like an intriguing read.
Yeah.
What did you think at the ending?
Ooh, that's good.
It elevates the conversation.
It does. Intriguing implies you're genuinely interested.
It's a subtle difference, but it makes you a more engaging conversationalist.
It does. Okay, here's another tip from the Fluent Edge that I like. Using these words when you compliment someone.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm always looking for ways to make my compliments stand out.
Me too. Because sometimes good job just feels a bit...
Clap!
Exactly. So instead, let's say a colleague gives a fantastic presentation.
They totally nailed it.
You could say, your presentation was impeccable. You really captivated the audience.
Impeccable. Way better than good job.
Right. It shows you were paying attention, that you really appreciate their skill.
And you can use it in everyday situations too.
Absolutely. Like, you have impeccable taste in music.
Or your home decor is impeccable.
It's about being specific and genuine with your praise.
Okay, now for a tip, that might sound counterintuitive.
Ooh, I like a challenge.
The Fluent Edge says we should try using these words in our small talk.
Wait, really? I thought small talk was supposed to be, like, casual.
I know, right? But think about it. If you can sprinkle in some sophisticated vocabulary,
It could make you stand out from the crowd.
make you more memorable.
I see where they're going with this.
So instead of that movie was good, you could try, the plot was intriguing, but the ending felt a bit ambiguous. What did you think?
Oh, that's good. It invites further discussion.
It's like you're taking small talk to the next level.
Leveling up.
Exactly. Okay, ready for another tip? Word substitution.
Oh, this sounds fun. Like a game.
It is. It's about consciously swapping out those everyday words for more impressive synonyms.
So instead of boring, I'd say tedious.
Yes. Or instead of perfect, go for impeccable.
Ooh, I like it. It's a fun way to challenge yourself.
And to make your language more vibrant.
More sophisticated.
And I bet the more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
Until those fancy words are just part of your everyday vocabulary.
Exactly. Now for the last tip from the Fluent Edge. Journaling with intention.
Journaling. I haven't done that in ages.
Well, they suggest using these new words when you're writing about your day.
Interesting.
It's a way to solidify them in your memory.
To make those words your own.
Yes. So instead of today was boring, you could write, today felt incredibly tedious, but I managed to stay resilient.
Ooh, that's powerful. It makes your writing more vivid.
More expressive.
I like it. It's like a personal vocabulary workout.
It is. So listener, those are some practical tips from the Fluent Edge on how to take these 15 words and really make them part of your life.
Put them into practice.
Yes. Before we wrap up, I'm curious. The Fluent Edge claims that if you know these words, your English is excellent.
That's a bold statement.
It is. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think mastering these words is definitely a step in the right direction.
It shows a certain level of sophistication.
It does. But I think true excellence in communication goes beyond just vocabulary.
Okay, so it's more than just knowing the words.
It is. It's about using those words effectively.
To convey your message clearly, to connect with your audience.
Exactly. It's about using language with purpose.
Like a skilled craftsman, using their tools.
I love that analogy. And just like any craft, mastering language takes practice.
Experimentation, a willingness to keep learning.
Exactly. It's a lifelong journey.
It is. And this deep dive is just one step on that journey. We've explored these 15 words, learned how to use them.
It's been a great journey.
It has. But here's the big question for you, listener.
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
Why does all this even matter? Why bother expanding your vocabulary?
Well, language, it's more than just a way to talk.
It's deeper than that.
It is. It reflects how we think,
How we see the world.
how we understand our own experiences.
So you're saying that by learning new words,
Yeah.
we're not just improving our English.
Not just that.
We're actually changing how we think.
You got it. Expanding your capacity to think critically
To engage with the world.
on a whole new level.
I like that.
Each new word.
Yeah.
It's like adding a new color to your palette.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
It gives you more ways to express yourself,
To understand complex ideas
to connect with other people.
more deeply.
Exactly.
It's like leveling up in a video game.
Uh-huh. I love that.
Unlocking new abilities, new challenges.
And the more words you master, the more you can achieve.
So listener, we encourage you, take on that challenge.
Take a few of these words
Yeah, the ones that resonate with you.
and start using them.
In your conversations, your writing, even just in your own head,
You might be surprised
by
at
the impact they have.
how much they enrich your communication, even your thinking.
And remember, language is always changing.
Evolving.
There are always new words to discover,
New nuances to explore.
new ways to express yourself.
So keep learning. Stay curious.
Don't let that vocabulary gather dust.
Keep those linguistic horizons expanding.
This has been a fantastic journey.
It has.
We've delved into the power of words.
Their impact on our lives.
And we hope, listener, that you feel empowered to use these words
With confidence.
with precision. Until next time, keep those vocabularies growing.